Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video from Radio 1.
It is such an honor, such a privilege to have two gurus from different parts of the globe coming together for the very first time on my radio program. Ustad Aaksarod, what an honor. Thank you very much. Very much. Such a pleasure. Joewalsh, the original rocker from the Eagles and all those years of solo albums. It's such an honor. It's such an honor to meet you. Big fan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the handsome duo, Aayaan and Aman. Good to see you. Wonderful.
Thank you, Harish bhai, for having us here. It's what a pleasure seeing you once again and hearing.
Thank you. And thank you for that very warm welcome. Thank you.
I remember Joe seeing on the brothers' timeline just before Christmas last year that they were going to do an event with you for a cause that you really believe in. How did that event go? I'm sure they really, rocked the socks out of everybody who heard them play this wonderful sitar, sarod, that their rich legacy, the seventh generation that they are. Talk to me about that veterans gig, please.
Well, I decided that one cause that I identified with and that I could really help are our veterans, military veterans, who are basically kids and come back from the Middle East war broken. And the transition back to civilian life from what they experienced is almost too big of a mountain to climb. And there are small groups of veterans across the country that are not funded, but they're just help groups. So if you're having trouble or thinking that suicide might be an option, you can go to these little places with other veterans and they understand. And that's the best help. There's not a lot of government focus on any of that. So I decided to have an organization, which I started, called Vets Aid. And what I've tried to do is fund all those little groups across the country so that they can keep going. And the other thing is what we called Gold Star families. And that is families of servicemen who didn't come home. And what do? So I got help groups organized for them, and I'm doing some scholarships for the children for college and stuff. In that way, I can help. And all the money goes to that purpose. I'm a Gold Star kid. My father was killed in the Army Air Force when I was 2 years old. So I'm resonant to their feelings when dad doesn't come back or a family member doesn't come back. Anyway, I hope I've explained that. And my Indian friends decided they wanted to participate. And that was probably the high point of the show, because they just came out of left field and everybody said, "Who are these guys?" And it was great. It was a great thing. So thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
I like what you said, the handsome duo.
That's right.
What you said? Yeah, I got to write that down. Yeah, we're going to use that later. But that's what Vets Aid is about, and thank you for asking.
And the last time we were in my studio, Joe, Ayan and me were equally jealous of Aman because he's a bachelor.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, I have some advice for him too.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Khasab, you're no stranger to collaborations. When you wrote the Concerto Samagam, you've collaborated with some of the biggest philharmonic orchestras in the world. I saw this lovely picture of you sitting with Sharon Isbin, and the kind of jugalbandi that you've created with the sarod and various instruments, Western instruments, is something that the world recognizes. What is it in particular that drew you to Joe's music sensibility? I mean, he is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. There is no doubt about that. But like they say, there is a connection. What is the connection that you found with Joe?
You see, the first meeting, things take shape, or you decide not to do anything with the other person. So it is Maestro Joewalsh personality, his humility, his involvement in Indian philosophy, Indian classical music. So, one has to like the person first. I can't do collaboration with anybody or everybody. So he is a legend of his field, rock and roll. And this is the first time rock and roll and Indian classical music collaboration taking place. But first of all, I liked him as a human being and his intentions, spiritual intentions towards music and towards way of life. So we met in Mumbai, Taj Mahal Hotel, and we thought we can, we had our instruments and we could collaborate. We played a little bit, and we thought we could do something together. Then finally we were in LA, and his beautiful house, and there is a studio in his house, and very, very gracious hospitality by his wife, Marjorie, and Maestro Joewalsh. And the group of musicians he has around, they are all, they are great in their own field. And Aman and they played a very important role to bring us together. And we started recording there, Goddess, Hope, We Shall Overcome, and Healing Love. While recording Healing Love, I spontaneously started singing. It wasn't planned. And after the recording, we did not know what to do with the recording, when to release, and what will happen to this record. And credit goes to our recording engineer also, Bruce. He did a great job. And it took, several years, and the pandemic time, we have lost so much. The whole world has lost. Creative world has suffered a lot. Indian classical musicians, so many musicians died and suffered. So this collaboration and this prayers, this album, the proceeds will go to organization Intra Health. They are taking care of 27 countries. So it is our humble token of love and respect towards front runners, doctors, nurses, and people who have saved life of others. So any collaboration is possible when you have mutual respect for each other. And so this collaboration, because music has connected the world. Music is so transparent that if I am out of tune, you will come to know. I can't manipulate. But language creates barriers. And through language, you can impress the whole world. And yet, the world does not know who you are. So thank God we live in the world of sound, and through sound, our connection with Maestro Deep Joe Walsh, this relationship of sound and rhythm is much more deeper than the relationship of blood.
Oh, beautifully put, Hasa. Beautifully put. Aman and Ayan, I want both of you to come in on this. Maybe Aman can start and Ayan can go on. You see, your family itself is the embodiment of secularism. I mean, you look at Hasab and you look at your wonderful mother. They're coming together itself is the confluence of cultures. I know that you celebrate Eid with great fervor as much as you celebrate Diwali and Holi. And for you, a track like Hope, We Shall Overcome, being on this EP must be very close to your heart, because here is a song which represented the Black civil rights movement in America. And at the same time, during our freedom struggle, the great poets were constantly narrating it. And here you've revived and done a beautiful thing out of it. So let's have both your comments on that particular track. We'll go track by track, but I pulled that track out first, please.
See, to be very honest, I'm too small a person to comment on an album of the stature and the magnitude of Maestro Amjad Ali Khan and Maestro Joewalsh. But as a very humble beginner of Indian classical music, or just as a young musician, I like to say the word hope, basically, and the track "We Shall Overcome." We shall overcome for me means we shall overcome racism, religion disparity. Like in the West, you have the color issue. In India, you have the Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian issue. So basically, for me, we shall overcome all our human limitations, our human insecurities. Let's be one world, one language, which is music, and just be brothers and sisters, all of us together, and not have this disparity between who is good, with religion or colors or whatever it is. I think this album is all about, I think as a young musician, I feel it's all about, when I saw the maestros talking in the studio space, and when I saw them discussing the music, and where the music shoot was all about love, one love. It was all about togetherness. It was all about forgiving people, just like accepting everybody in your arms. And or to I think promote world peace and love. So for me, this song means that basically, let's have more schools and colleges instead of having more religious structures. Let's have more hospitals where we can save lives. So this album for me is we shall overcome all the human insecurities and limitations of the human race.
Ayan, you want to add to that, please?
I mean, when we were recording, I mean, little did one know that, what was around the corner. And I think that's why, when the world has changed, this was a collective decision of my father and Maestro Walsh that, this is the time to thank all these great people, all the doctors and frontline workers who are doing what they're doing. And along with the pandemic, there was so much that happened, so much was happening in the US, so much was happening in other parts of the world. So, this song was deeply associated with Mahatma Gandhi, with Martin Luther King during the apartheid movement and all of that. So, I mean, it seems that there's so much more that still needs to be done, even today. And as musicians, music is the greatest wealth we have. So that's the only thing we can most humbly offer. And that's what we've done. And for us, just to be, a part of this project is truly a dream come true. And we just feel very blessed to be in this album with these two great legends. I must mention, along with, Maestro Walsh and my father, we met such amazing artists who kind of joined us. We had Stewart Copeland, we had...
can I interrupt you there? In fact, I wanted to ask Joe this. Joe, is this the same Stewart Copeland who is from The Police and Sting?
Yeah.
Because when I was a little kid, I used to trip on Sting and The Police and their records, and his percussions were just amazing.
I know, he sounds like three people.
Continue, Ayan. Yeah, thank you.
No, so we had him, and there was Nathan East, Ed Roth, and such wonderful artists who was so humble again. And we were recording and eating amazing food. And I think everything was collective. There was a beautiful energy in the studio. And it's really moments that I will cherish forever.
That's wonderful. Joe, a little more about some of the other musicians, please. Like we just talked about Stuart Copeland, some of the other musicians who've played. Just could you tell us a little bit about them, please?
Well, I think Elizabeth can fill you in on who they are, but it's a good cross section of the Los Angeles community that pretty much play on every song that we all know and love. These are the best of the best in Los Angeles.
Great. Now she's been kind enough to just throw it out here. Joe would like to thank the following musicians, everybody who's listening or watching, who participated in the sessions. Nathan East, bass.
Nathan East is a bass player, played for Michael Jackson and tours with Eric Clapton.
Wow. Clapton and Jackson. Lee Sklar, another bass player who's played on the album.
Lee Sklar has played on everything that James Taylor has ever recorded, and Jackson Browne and Carole King.
Wow. Now that's a big name in country music. Around about the time I discovered the Eagles, I discovered James Taylor. Of course, you guys went on to do more rock, but James Taylor is so true to those country roots. Yeah. Then Abe Loboriel has also played bass. That's wonderful.
His son is the drummer for Paul McCartney.
Oh,
Abe. And Abe Sr. is an old R&B Motown guy. And he looks like he's really old, but he comes in and plays like he's 20. He's amazing. So that's who he is.
Oh, I love the Motown sound. That's wonderful. Then there's Jim Keltner on percussion. Stuart, we already talked about. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Jim Keltner's in Traveling Wilburys.
Oh, drummer. My God, Aman, you know, you've worked with the greatest legends.
We are blessed.
Oh, God, amazing. Like Traveling Wilburys. Then there's Ed Roth on keyboards. Michael Thompson also on keyboards. And
Michael Thompson is in-house member of the Eagles band. He's a keyboardist. He can play anything in any key. He can take a piece of music, turn it upside down, and play it backwards. And I said, wow. Michael, I'm going to need you for these guys from India. I'm going to need somebody like you. Tell us what they're doing, you know. And Ed Roth is a session player. He's a go-to guy. He comes from the jazz world. Okay. And I thought throwing him in the equation, let's see what he comes up with, because jazz is a different part of the universe from any of us.
And Davy Johnston on guitar. That's the final session musician.
Lead guitar player for Elton John.
Oh,
there you
see. Our tabla player was Satnam. Please talk about Satnam also.
Yeah, actually, what did you think? What did you think of our tabla player, of Khasab saying, you know, the tabla player? Joe, your reactions.
Satnam.
I'm so grateful that he was there.
Yeah.
Because you know, in Western music, we count to 4. And once you get to 4, you know, go back to 1. But that's not the case in Indian music. And my first terrifying thing was, where's 1? Because, you know, I just couldn't figure it out. But I listened to the tabla player. All I had to do was listen to him, and I was okay. You know, and amazing. He's so amazing and he just he sounds like Stuart Copeland. He sounds like Five Guys. But if you want to, if you need something to be the foundation for you to play, you listen to him.
Lovely, lovely. Khan Saab, Joe, either of you can take this, both of you. Could you fill me in on Goddess, which is the first track? We talked about Hope We Shall Overcome, but a little bit about Goddess, please.
It's based on Rag Hamsadani. May I ask Aayan to talk on Goddess?
Ji, Aayan, please, Goddess.
You know, most of the pieces, like both the greats just said, everything was just happening, while we were there. Till the point that when one even entered the room, I mean, one hadn't really thought of what one was doing. So this piece, my brother and I kind of thought of this piece in Hans Dhwani. And, it's such a beautiful raga. The scale is so appealing. And then the element of Maestro Walsh's touch to the track, I think just added all the jewels, to the crown. And it just it's given a different dimension to the raga, a different dimension to, just the way one has heard this, scale. And with the sarod and the electronic guitar together, it's something very beautiful and unusual. And I hate to comment myself, but I hope people enjoy listening to it. That's all I can say.
This particular melody, Rishiji,
Ji Khan Saab,
is so familiar with the South Indian people and North Indian people. Da 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 da. Sani pani re ga pani sani paga re sani paga re ga pani re sani re ga paga re ga sani ni da 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 da. So it's a beautiful melody, and it creates a beautiful aura and flavor, atmosphere.
Joe, you've worked with the greatest vocalists of your time, whether it's Glenn or Don Henley. You yourself are a vocalist. You've done so many vocals, but you must have got goosebumps in the studio listening to Khan Saab on Healing Love and the way the track starts. I must confess, after listening to Goddess and, Hope, then I came to Healing Love. I didn't go in order in particular. And I expected an instrumental start. And suddenly I heard Khan Saab's voice, open the track. And it was just an ethereal experience. So what do you think of our treasure? Since you've worked with so many great vocalists.
I love when he sings. He said, I don't sing. And I said, oh, yes, you do. And he just started singing out here to explain something to us. And I initially had to kind of encourage him, but once he started, and you know what I just learned? I love to watch him sing. Holy smokes, that's wonderful. But I tell you what, I would like to say that I am so blessed to have the Khan family come into my life.
Thank you.
And, I sit in Los Angeles and I'm successful, and I get up in the morning and say, hey, I know about a lot of stuff. And meeting Amjad, I realized how little I know about the big picture. And he has become a kind of a guru to me spiritually. Being in his presence is calming and healing. And his wisdom and his knowledge is all stuff that I don't know. And I'm learning it a little at a time. But he's the national treasure of India.
Completely.
And he's a grandmaster. And I'm very humble in his presence. And I just want to say that a guy couldn't ask for two better friends than a handsome duo.
Thank you. It's our honor.
Such moving words.
It's our honor.
Thank you. I want to come to you, Aman, and ask you about how you felt, or every time you feel when you're doing a kind of jugalbandi with a guitar, because they are string instruments, but they're so different from each other, the sarod and the guitar, but yet when they come together, it's like the Sangam in Allahabad, different tributaries of the river coming together. So talk to me about that. Whenever, you're with, for example, with Maestro Walsh, that jugalbandi of the guitar and the sarod.
I mean, to be near Maestro Walsh by itself is, it's not even, the word is not even challenge, it's much bigger than challenge. But the thing is, a guitar and a sarod, the amalgamation is beautiful is because they both are very different instruments. I mean, guitar has these chords that you can do that you can't do much on the sarod with. You can't do chords. But on the sarod, you can slide with your nails, which you can't do on the guitar because guitar has frets. So I think both are equally challenging instruments. These are very difficult instruments. And for any musician, I mean, a very small guy, again, just comment on maestros and on music but instead of such august, presence. But having said that, I feel that all the instruments are challenging, especially when, as you said, that Maestro Walsh and Maestro, my father, they are singers first, and then they're instrumentalists. So being able to imitate the human voice into an instrument, is the most difficult thing to do. And I think I learned so much seeing my father and Maestro Walsh doing it, which is amazing. So guitar and sarod are from the same family, they're cousins. I mean, they're cousins, they might not be, but in this album, they look like real sisters or brothers, actually.
That's very beautifully described. It's a wonderful analogy.
It's just a beautiful.
Unfortunately, I've almost run out of time. I have time only for one question. Please, Joe, allow me to ask this one question to you. And the reason for that is I have an 8-year-old daughter. I have two daughters. One of them is 8. The other is only 2. The 8-year-old daughter knows Hotel California. And my father, who's 77, knows Hotel California. And I'm not even coming to tracks like, New Kid in Town and Take It Easy, songs that I grew up on because, I'm a fan of the Eagles. And also the Hotel California guitar solo is voted as the greatest guitar solo of all time. How did the magic of that song happen, Joe, when you guys, that was also your first album with the Eagles, Hotel California. That song, do you have recollections of that? If you could share that, it'll be a wonderful way to end this interview. Thank you.
Well, sure. We were in a very, very creative period. Now, I had just joined the band, and a lot of people were scratching their heads saying, that's not going to work. But, we all lived in the same car for a while in Los Angeles when we first got there. And so we knew it would work. But the first thing we attempted after I joined the band, we started writing Hotel California. Now, Southern California at that time was a community of gifted people who hadn't made it yet. And we all hung out at the Troubadour. And gradually we met each other. We were all in different bands. We met each other. And later we started to get successful. But in those days, we would sit around after one of us played somewhere, we would go to somebody's house and sit around with our guitars, and we would play things for each other. I got this idea. And somebody else would say, oh, yeah. What about doing this? Or that, that goes in something I was doing. There was all of that. California at the time was this community of people who came to California because, I was in Ohio and I knew that I was as famous as I could get in Ohio. And if I wanted to take it up a notch, all I knew was that would happen in Los Angeles because of the energy there. There's a place in Austin, Texas, is another place. You can go anywhere on a given night and hear 3 or 4 great bands that haven't made it yet. And it was that kind of vibe. And so we wrote Hotel California about that. Because everybody that I hung out with wasn't from California. Glenn was from Detroit. And Don was from Texas, and James Taylor was like from Massachusetts, I think. We were all there to try and make our dreams come true. And it was this wonderful time. I guess it was like, Hemingway's book, A Movable Feast. It's about Paris in the 20s and 30s, when everybody was there, F. Scott Fitzgerald and all these people, they hadn't made it yet. And it was a wonderful time. And Los Angeles was kind of like that. So that was the basis for Hotel California. We started writing about that experience. And it was a very creative period that we were getting to know each other. And Don Felder and I, we were very competitive. And so we did the basic track. Don took it and came back with the words. And we all went, oh my God, he has nailed it. And then it was time to put the guitars on. So Don Felder and I, we really pushed each other. We were competitive. And when he started putting his parts on, I said, oh yeah, listen to this. And he went, oh, that's really great, but listen to this. And that was the energy that was the end of Hotel California. We were just getting to learn each other and we were really competitive and we made each other better and we made each other really step up. And we caught that magic at the end of Hotel California. And that's why it's so good. It wasn't planned. It was spontaneous, going at it. And that's where the best music comes from. So that explains Hotel California. Is there a Hotel California? No. Hotel California was Los Angeles in the early 70s. There you go.
If I live that long, till my 70s and 80s, I will be telling that story to my grandchildren. Thank you, Joe Walsh. Thank you, Khasab. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aman, Ayaan, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Take care.
Love you all.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss out on more content.